So it's 2004. Jim Carrey is, I don't think you'll ever see like a comedian that has ever reached those heights ever again. I don't think you'll ever see like an actor that not only could do the comedic scenes like in Dumb and Dumber and even The Mask, right? Which, looking back at it, was very like formally rounded compared to like his other much more comedic stuff in like Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber, for example, right? Even to Me, Myself, and Irene. But once Truman Show came out in 1998, it showed that Carrie was not just this clown, but this very introspective. Well, at least he could seem introspective um, character. And Truman Show wasn't. It was kind of ignored at the time, even though the people loved Carrie. But eventually, that would come as be regarded as a classic, even a masterpiece to some. So by 2003, Carrie had made Bruce Almighty and made millions of dollars at the box office. He couldn't do no wrong. So he decided to be in this really crazy movie that not a lot of people were talking about at the time, but it eventually would become a masterpiece for a lot of people and some people's favorite movie, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Screenplay by Charlie Kaufman, directed by Michel Gondry. A lot of things to say about this movie. So first off, this came from Kino. This was released in July, so this is a late video. But I really wanted to wait because the first time that I saw this movie was in 2018. I pirated the movie, and there was a different ending to it for some reason. And I got the feeling that the movie wasn't really up to it for me. It was like kind of too introspective. It was a little bit too painful, I think, for me at the time whenever I watched it. But watching it here recently, and with time has gone by, um, the movie I believe is a one of a kind film experience, and that's a lot to say, at least for me, because not saying that I'm like a hoity-toity critic or whatever, but I do think that in terms of like especially the romantic genre, which now in the past 10 years has just been god awful. Like I don't think that I've saw a movie in the past 10 years for like a love for like the romantic this is not really a comedy, but just like romantic genre in general, where I'm just like I can kind of feel something from that. I can take a little piece of it, and not nothing really for me. But when I watched this movie here recently, it really you really kind of you don't really get in bed with this movie, but you're kind of like forced to really understand or at least have like some different view of what relationships are. Where you have Jim Carrey's character, Joel Barish, who is this very quiet, very nice, respectable person, I guess, right? It's not explained where he works. He's just this sort of guy, right? And then you have Kate Winslet's character as Clementine, and she's almost like an abstraction, right? Almost like it's almost like these two characters were just like from vapor, right? And you could say that that's a criticism of the movie itself, is that these two characters were not very well developed. It was mostly just like kind of two puppets, like battling back and forth of what their faults were or what their insecurities were and such. But I think that that was very refreshing in itself. I think the lack of character development here, I think is really the strongest suit of the movie, was that it was able to take a back seat and it allowed these views of these two people to move into the forefront because it was clear that um, that the science fiction elements in this, um, the whole mind erasing thing, I think that that was a great concept, in that you can erase your memories of the one that you really truly thought you loved, right? And you have all of these preconceptions and these really personal and intense feelings, right? But at the end of the day, you always have a strand of them, whether or not you like it. Yeah, just whether or not you like it. I mean, you'll always hold on to. That's what I at least got from the film. But these two people were made to coexist with each other in some strange way. Like these aren't just strangers that like just bump, right? Like these two were almost sort of like almost like spiritually and maybe even fate intertwined in some strange way. Um, and all these feelings that pour over, it's almost sort of like a bridge. That's the best metaphor that I can give this movie. It's almost like a bridge where there's leaks in that. Well, I'm sorry, it's like a dam, and the water is like almost about to just take the dam completely off, right? And there's leaks in it, and then eventually it just pours over and just totally just breaks through, right? You have also this really this plot device that some people may like or not like, where Kirsten Dunst, Mark Ruffalo, and the main Tom Wilkinson character, where they are specialized in getting rid of these people's memories of their loved ones, right? Well, to me, I thought that their existence was just to simply have another way of reinforcing the main element, or well, the main idea of the story. And I think that you I kind of criticize that a little bit, because maybe it should have just been about those two. Maybe it should have just been and maybe my argument about the no character development, maybe you could have shown a little bit more there between those two characters. But at the same time, that's kind of a nitpick, because I do think that this is a very fine movie. This is a very good movie. This is um, not only my favorite Jim Carrey performance that he's ever done, it's my favorite Kate Winslet performance as well, which is very rare. Usually it would just be like two completely separate movies that they would do, but I think that those two actors, actresses, they did so good in this movie. And the music as well. And I'm looking at the back here. Jean Brion, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. The interludes in this movie is just absolutely beautiful. It harkens back to like Brian Eno's work, more like ambience, and it's just beautiful. I remember the scene where Joel is like taking the taxi, I think, back to his house, if I'm not mistaken, or he was taking a ride somewhere, and this very lush, beautiful music, like almost like we sort of got a reprieve from this heartache. It was absolutely wonderful, and it was a beautiful piece of filmmaking that I'll never forget. So I think that Eternal Sunshine has its faults, but I do think that the main idea of the movie, the central performances, the cinematography, and the very um, they didn't use a lot of CGI in it, and I thought it was wonderful that they just used these cameras and just put the flashlight on the camera to where it's almost like a dreamscape, like this dream world, and they barely used any sort of special effects whenever it comes to that, except whenever they change their faces or have houses collapse or whatever. But anyway, this is a wonderful movie. If you have not watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, making sure I have the title right, go do yourself a baber, buy this, and buy this immediately. It's just a very wonderful movie. I can't believe I didn't like it more whenever I was younger, but maybe you just need those experiences to back it up, or at least live a little bit before you watch movies like this. So, again, go ahead and get this 4K version. I remember, comments on the grading in the 4K. The 4K I think is absolutely wonderful. The grading I think is okay. I don't say that a lot of movies, but I remember when I first watched it, and it could have been like the pirated version, but it was a lot more like lighter. This sort of went towards like the like more greenish to me, which if you like that, then that's cool. But I thought that this was a very good transfer, and of course it brings over a lot of special features from previous releases. So again, get this movie. It's awesome. You'll love it. Your girlfriend, spouse will love it too. Probably cry. I don't know, but it's a very good movie. Thank you all for watching again. Appreciate it. Thanks.